You ever had one of those moments where the universe just decides to throw a circus in your backyard? Yeah, that was me last spring, watching blue lights strobe off the water as two squad cars crept down our gravel drive. All because my grandfather was fishing on his own lake. I'm dead serious. Some folks spend their golden years sunning in Florida. My granddad spends his fighting off the local HOA like it's the Alamo. And this time, the president herself, Brenda Whitlock, called 911 claiming Walter Gaines was trespassing. That's right, trespassing. On a lake he's owned since before the moon landing. Now, let me back up a sec. This story gets weirder before it gets any better. I'm Daniel Gaines, 35, born and raised in Jacksonville, but every other weekend I drive up to Pine Ridge to check on my grandfather, Walter. The man's 78, tough as a railroad spike, and stubborn as Florida clay. The cabin's been in our family since before there was a paved road out here. 15 acres of clear blue water that his great-granddad bought with a handshake and a couple $100 back in the 1800s. You'd think a deed that old would shut folks up, but Brenda Whitlock, former city lawyer, permanent pain in the neck, doesn't give up easy. It started like every HOA story. Somebody with too much time, not enough business, and a clipboard. Brenda moved in a few years back, talked half the neighborhood into forming Pine Ridge Estates Homeowners Association. Voted herself president, naturally. One day she shows up on our dock with a packet of forms thicker than a phone book, telling Grandpa he's got to pay dues for lake maintenance. $3,000 a year, plus extra for shoreline preservation. I swear, she delivered it like she was serving court papers. Grandpa didn't even blink. Ma'am, I own this lake. My family's owned it longer than this town's had a zip code. Brenda just smiled, but you could see she'd already written him off as senile. But Brenda's real talent was twisting the rules. She'd been quietly working with a few neighbors, rewriting HOA bylaws, redrawing boundaries. All of a sudden, the association's territory stretched right over our property line, lake included. Next thing you know, Grandpa's getting certified letters claiming he's in violation of water use restrictions, being fined $500 a day unless he joins the HOA. You know what I mean? It was a shakedown, plain and simple. The thing is, my grandfather doesn't scare. Every morning, like clockwork, he's on that dock. Rain, shine, or HOA threat, sipping coffee, watching the mist burn off the lake. Then came the showdown. Brenda, plus her little army of matching polo shirts, marched down the dock and started quoting ordinances like they'd just discovered the Magna Carta. Sir, you've been automatically enrolled. Failure to comply constitutes a county violation. Grandpa never even turned around. You folks want me off my own dock. You'll need a bigger army. That's when Brenda whipped out her phone, called 911, and told the cops she had a trespasser on community property. 20 minutes later, Officer Carter rolls up. Young guy, good head on his shoulders, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Grandpa pulls out this faded document from his pocket. The deed, signed by the Department of the Interior, dated 1893. Carter studies it, eyebrows climbing, then turns to Brenda. Ma'am, he owns the whole lake. Has since Grover Cleveland was president. For a second, Brenda just stood there, lips moving but no sound coming out. You could hear a fish jump 2 docks over. But Brenda wasn't done. She hit back with everything. Mailed threats, code violations, even tried to slap a lien on Grandpa's property. That's when a twist walked right up to our door. Mrs. Eleanor Mason, 82, sharp as a tack, longtime neighbor. She leans in, says she's seen folks in coveralls dumping stuff in the lake at night, marking the shore with little orange flags. Never seen him ask permission from anyone, she whispered, stirring her sweet tea. I started digging, pulling county records, and found something that made my stomach twist. 3 months back, Brenda filed an amended HOA declaration, trying to annex the lake, behind everyone's back. She had help, too. Emily Carter, deputy clerk, her old college pal. When Brenda called an emergency HOA meeting, the place was packed. Angry, nervous faces everywhere. She stood up front, painting Grandpa as a community hazard, proposing an $8,000 lake management assessment per household. But then, out of the back, up stood James Crawford, retired real estate lawyer. Mrs. Whitlock, he called out, this HOA has zero jurisdiction over Pine Ridge Lake, and your amended declaration is, frankly, illegal. You could feel the shift in the room. Whispers, scowls, folks eyeing Brenda sideways. That's when the real danger started. A note appeared on my windshield. Check your county records again, and be careful around the lake at night. So, of course, I went back with a flashlight and my old scuba gear. Down in the deep end, under the dock, I found sealed containers and, worse, water moccasins, 6 or 7 of them, circling in the exact spot Grandpa likes to fish. These snakes weren't local, they'd been put there. Somebody wanted my grandfather off that dock, or in the hospital. Things escalated quick. Next HOA meeting, Brenda tried to resolve things amicably, handed Grandpa a thick document, all smiles. Just sign here, and we'll waive the fines. I scanned it, legalese thicker than mud, but clear as day. It was a property transfer, not a membership. She wanted him to sign away lake management rights, maybe even ownership. The room exploded. So that's your plan, Brenda? Steal my lake. Use HOA bylaws as a crowbar? Walter thundered. Brenda tried to play it off, but then Crawford dropped another bombshell. He'd uncovered $500,000 in payments from a company called Mountain Vista Holdings, run by a shady resort developer named Steinberg. Turns out, they were planning to buy out the lake, build an $80 million resort, and needed our land as the final piece. Folks realized they'd been played. The mood went from neighborly to pitchforks real quick. And just when I thought it couldn't get messier, I got another note. The snakes are just the beginning. Check the deep end of the lake tomorrow night. Come alone. This was past property squabble. This was war. That night, Grandpa and I waded in. Flashlights, gloves, nerves rattling. We found an old waterproof container. Inside, my great-great-grandfather's diary, original survey maps, and the federal land patent, airtight proof the lake's been ours since 1893. Even crazier, the diary revealed a lawsuit from the 70s. Brenda's own grandfather tried, and failed, to seize the lake, got crushed in court, and swore his family would get revenge someday. This was generational, not just HOA ambition, but an old grudge. Things spun out. Grandpa had a health scare after a snake bite, ended up in the ER. In the parking lot, Marcus, the security guard Brenda had hired, pulled me aside. She paid me to drop those snakes. She talked about making the lake too dangerous for your family. He'd recorded everything. Worse, he'd helped her dump barrels in the lake, marked hazardous waste. Patricia, my cousin, an environmental scientist, confirmed the water was contaminated with heavy metals and solvents. Brenda wasn't just stealing a lake. She was poisoning it to force us out. Then the feds got involved. FBI agents called me, said they'd been tracking Steinberg and his network of fake HOAs for months. Asked me to wear a wire at the next negotiation. The plan, catch Brenda confessing on tape, bring down the whole operation. But Brenda was desperate. At dawn, she met Grandpa on the dock. He pretended to cave, asked what the HOA would do with the lake. Brenda, eyes shining, said full development, resorts, marinas, rentals. Then, with a snake's grin, added, sign the agreement, or accidents might happen. The snakes were warnings. There are worse things. Grandpa snapped. You poisoned my lake. You tried to kill me. You're not getting 1 inch. Brenda shoved him, hard. He crashed into the water, hitting his head on a piling. The snakes were already closing in. I jumped in after him, fighting off 2 of them barehanded, pulled him to shore. FBI agents swarmed. Brenda was arrested for attempted murder, conspiracy, environmental crimes, the works. Steinberg's empire crumbled overnight. The media caught wind. Elderly man attacked by snakes in HOA war went viral. Neighbors dissolved the HOA, voted to turn Pine Ridge into a voluntary association run by actual consensus. Cleanup was brutal. 47 toxic containers, snake removals, federal press conferences. Patricia's research helped launch new EPA laws protecting elderly property owners from HOA harassment. The lake's now a protected heritage site. Grandpa went on national TV, cane in one hand, fishing rod in the other, telling anyone who'd listen, stand your ground, folks. Don't let bullies in suits steal what your family built. Walter's story became a rallying cry for property rights, for standing up to corporate scams, for not letting greed win. Now, every morning, he's back on that dock, clean water stretching out as far as you can see, teaching my own son to bait a hook and stand tall when the world gets crooked. And me? I opened a law firm helping other families fight back against dirty HOAs. Because after what we survived, no one's taking my family's lake, or anyone else's, without a fight. So tell me, what would you do if someone tried to steal what's yours? Where do you draw the line? Drop your thoughts below. This isn't just my story, it's every American's. If you think it's time regular folks fought back, hit that like, share your HOA nightmares, and tell me, who really owns your neighborhood?